When we think about mental health, the first thing that comes to mind for many is the idea of being in balance without the emotional ups and downs that afflict us. Mental health is often confused with the absence of problems, but in reality, it involves the ability to manage our emotions, thoughts, and behaviors, regardless of external circumstances. And it is precisely this management that brings up one of the most challenging themes in everyday life: control. We are constantly trying to control everything around us, trying to make life follow a predictable and safe path. But in reality, most of the things that affect us are beyond our reach. And that's where the real struggle begins. The concept of control, at its core, is related to a deep desire for security and stability. We want to control our work, our relationships, our health, and above all, our emotions. The idea is simple. If we can control the variables in our lives, we can avoid suffering. If we can plan everything, if we know exactly what to expect, fear and anxiety will disappear. But this is an illusion, and often, the more we try to control, the more we lose control. And what happens when we can't control something? The emotional response that arises is often a whirlwind of frustration, fear, and even hopelessness. Understanding the difference between control and choice is crucial if we want to develop more resilient mental health. Control is an attempt to force events to conform to what we want. It gives us the illusion of power, but it is a temporary illusion because life is unpredictable, and we cannot control all the factors. On the other hand, choice is a power that is available at every moment. In any situation, we can choose how to react, how to interpret events, how to give meaning to what happens to us. Control is rigid, precise, and often exhausting. Choice is more flexible, dynamic, and offers us freedom. Let's imagine a real-life situation. You have an important appointment, something that is very significant to you. Suddenly, something goes wrong. The traffic, a problem with transportation, an unexpected event. The first reaction from many people is frustration. We want to control the situation. We want everything to go according to plan. This causes anxiety because we feel like we've lost control over something important. But what if, instead of fighting against the situation, you simply allowed yourself to choose how to react? What can you really control in that moment? The answer is your reaction. You can get upset and let your anger take over, or you can choose to use that time to reflect, breathe deeply, and find an alternative solution. What you choose will directly impact how you feel about the situation. The key point here is that our mental health doesn't depend on having control over everything, but on our ability to choose how we react to situations beyond our control. This requires a shift in perspective. When we think control is everything, we put ourselves under constant pressure. Life, no matter how much we plan, will not unfold exactly as we want. And when that happens, our minds enter a state of fighting against reality. But when we choose how to react, we give ourselves the power to influence our emotional experience without relying on external factors. Our brains, by nature, seek patterns and try to predict what will happen and prepare for the worst. This is a survival mechanism, a way to protect ourselves from possible threats. However, this mechanism, while useful in extreme situations, can lead us to a state of chronic anxiety. The constant search for control over every aspect of life puts us in a state of constant vigilance, as if we are always expecting something bad to happen. This prevents us from fully living in the present, because we are always focused on the future, trying to anticipate problems and predict how we could avoid them. When we pause to reflect on our choices, we realize that every moment of our lives is permeated by them. The way we deal with stress, how we react to criticism, how we interpret a difficult situation, all of this is a choice. The big question is, are we making conscious choices? Are we really reflecting on how we want to respond to a given situation? Or are we simply reacting based on automatic mental habits that we have accumulated over time? Mental health is closely tied to our ability to make conscious choices, to stop and think before reacting, to become aware of emotional triggers and decide how to respond to them. One of the biggest challenges when it comes to choices is the tendency to fall into automatic behavior patterns. Often, without realizing it, we allow ourselves to be guided by a logic of reacting instead of acting with intention. This can be seen in the small things, someone interrupts you at work, and you immediately get irritated, without even pausing to question whether the irritation is really necessary. Or, when faced with a challenge, you think that you have no control over anything and feel helpless. This is the opposite of conscious choice. The challenge, then, is to begin paying attention to our reactions and realizing that we have the power to choose how to respond, even if we cannot control all the external factors. Choosing how to react means having a certain degree of awareness about what is happening inside us. Most people don't realize the whirlwind of thoughts and emotions that pass through their minds in any stressful situation. This is perfectly normal, but the point here is that by becoming more aware, we can slow down this process and make more grounded decisions, more aligned with our values and what truly matters. And when we start doing this, our mental health begins to improve because we are not just reacting to the world. We are making active decisions about how we want to relate to it. Control, on the other hand, is a reflection of our attempt to avoid discomfort. If we try to control a situation, it is because we believe that by mastering what is happening, we will avoid pain, fear, or anxiety. But this rarely happens. By trying to control, we often become even more anxious because control itself is a source of stress. We are forced to track every move, to anticipate every possibility, and this drains our energy. This leaves us exhausted because we are not truly focusing on what is important, but on maintaining an illusion that we can predict and control everything. Choices, on the other hand, allow us to breathe. When we choose, we have a sense of freedom. For example, we can choose to look at a stressful situation and decide that it won't dominate us. We can choose, instead of being paralyzed by fear, to act with courage, even if the fear is still present. Choice, then, is about finding freedom within a situation that, at first glance, seems out of control. And this freedom is what provides us with peace. Peace because we know that, even if things don't go as planned, we can choose how to respond to it. One of the areas where control most affects us is in our interpersonal relationships. We often seek to control the behavior of others, whether in the family, at work, or among friends. We want people to behave in a certain way, to act according to what we consider right. But this is something beyond our reach. We can offer advice, express our feelings, but we cannot force anyone to act according to our expectations. And when we try to control others, it creates frustration and resentment. When we let go of the need for control, we can, instead, choose how to react to others' attitudes, keeping our inner peace intact. Furthermore, control can also be related to self-criticism. The search for perfection and the desire to control every aspect of our behavior can be paralyzing. Sometimes we demand so much from ourselves to make everything perfect that we forget we are human and we fail. Mental health, therefore, is also linked to our ability to choose to be kind to ourselves, to understand that even when we fail, we have the opportunity to learn and grow. Excessive control over what we do and who we are can turn us into prisoners of an unrealistic idea of perfection, while choice allows us to be more flexible, more real. This doesn't mean we should be passive or resigned. Choice also involves action, but an action that comes from a place of clarity, not from a hasty or forced reaction. When we are more conscious of our choices, we are able to act with more purpose, in a way that is more aligned with our values and what really matters. Excessive control can lead us to act impulsively, without considering the consequences, while choice gives us space to reflect, weigh options, and make more grounded decisions. In the end, understanding that life is a series of choices, not a constant search for control, is one of the biggest steps we can take toward more balanced and sustainable mental health. We cannot control everything, and that is something we must accept. But we can choose how we relate to what we cannot control. We can choose where to invest our energy, what kind of thoughts we want to engage with, and how we want to live our emotions. By doing so, we create a life that is lighter, freer, and much healthier mentally.